Why didn't they smile? Picture this. It's the 1800s. You are dressed to the nines, standing stiffly in front of a camera, desperately trying not to blink. The photographer adjusts his equipment and says, "Okay, stop smiling. Don't move." No cheese, no say bananas, no pep talks to get you grinning. Just don't move. And the minutes pass, and you hold your pose. Your face is a blank slate. You feel a need to, but you just hold. And then time stops. There's a cramp in your left toe. And finally, click, done. And now, a century or more later, we're left wondering, why didn't anyone smile? Today we're diving into the curious evolution of the smile in culture, exploring why those old-timey photos are full of somber stares and how a little upward curve of the lips became a cultural staple. Why the serious faces? A guessing game. Let's start with some wild guesses. Why didn't people like to smile back then? Maybe they didn't like the photographer. Imagine standing there thinking, this guy charges way too much for a picture of me looking like me. Or maybe their teeth were, let's say, less than Instagram ready. Dental hygiene wasn't exactly trending in the 1800s. What if indigestion was to blame? It's hard to grin when you're regretting last night's questionable meat pie. Or, hear me out, maybe they weren't alive. Back then it was common practice to photograph the dearly departed, propped up, posed, and definitely not smiling. And let's not forget the possibility of interpersonal drama. You want me to stand next to Aunt Mildred after what she said at Christmas? Forget it. The real reasons. A matter of logistics. Now that we've had some fun, let's get serious. Like an 1800s portrait. One big reason people didn't smile in photos? Long exposure times. Early cameras required the subject to stay perfectly still for minutes on end. Smiling is hard enough to hold for a few seconds. Imagine holding it for minutes. It's easier to relax your face in a neutral position. Less cramping, more success. Cultural attitudes toward smiling. Let's take a closer look at how society viewed smiling in the past. Today, a smile conveys warmth, friendliness, and approachability. But back then, a big toothy grin could send all the wrong messages. For one, smiling in a formal portrait was considered undignified. A neutral expression conveyed intelligence, seriousness, and self-control. Qualities people wanted to immortalize. A smile, on the other hand, was associated with frivolity. Only jesters and fools grinned broadly, and you didn't want to be mistaken for either. It gets worse. In many cases, a wide smile hinted at something off. A grin might make you look intoxicated. Yes, had a bit too much ale, drunk. It could suggest madness, as if the person smiling wasn't quite right in the head. And in the harsh moral light of the 19th century, women who smiled too broadly or too often, they were often judged as being of, shall we say, questionable character. That's right. Smiling could make people think you had loose morals. This stigma wasn't just about portraits. In day-to-day life, excessive smiling could make someone seem dishonest or manipulative. A person who smiled too much might be hiding something, or so people thought. In short, smiles were risky business. best reserved for private moments or casual gatherings. So the next time you feel awkward about smiling in a photo, remember, at least no one's assuming you're drunk, deranged, or up to no good. Well, at least as far as you know. Bad teeth, a not-so-hidden secret. We joked about it a little already, but oral hygiene was a major problem in the past. Teeth whitening wasn't a thing, and toothbrushes weren't exactly a household staple until much later. It's no wonder people weren't eager to flash their smiles for the camera. Many probably had teeth that were more of a grimace than a grin. If you're curious about just how bad things were, or if you just enjoy being mildly horrified, check out our previous episode, The Distasteful History of Toothpaste. It's a deep dive into what people used to clean their teeth, or what they tried to clean their teeth with. Anyway, spoiler alert, ash and crushed bones were involved. There's a link in the notes. So yes, avoiding a smile wasn't just about looking dignified. It was also a solid strategy for avoiding embarrassment. After all, no one wants their plaque problem immortalized for future generations. The smile evolves. So, when did we start smiling for photos? By the 20th century, technological improvements like shorter exposure times made it easier to capture smiles. But cultural shifts played an even bigger role. Advertising had a major impact. In the 20s and 30s, ads started portraying smiling as the norm, associated with happiness, confidence, and health. Smiling became kind of a social currency. Hollywood stars flashed dazzling grins, and the rest of the world followed suit. Today, the smile is omnipresent in photos, a sign of happiness and approachability. But it's worth reflecting on the cultural journey that brought us here. What does a smile mean in different contexts? And are there times when a more serious expression still holds power? The next time you flip through an old album of photographs, remember those unsmiling faces weren't unhappy. They were just a product of their time. Heaven knows what they were actually thinking in the minutes that it took to get the exposure. Could be anything from, how long is this going to take, to, don't smile, people will think you're intoxicated. Maybe even, this image will immortalize my beauty and help me to conquer the world. So, here's the answer. There are times when the look on someone's face tells you more so than words ever could. There are times when a blank stare has nothing to do with an empty head. There are times when aloofness is covering deep interest and concern. Coming to understand someone will take more than a snapshot of the mask they are wearing at the moment. And that's it. An ounce submitted for your consideration. Thanks for watching. I hope you got a kick out of this little exploration of smiling and taking pictures in the 1800s and before, and how smiles were part of our culture. And if you found it interesting, amusing, fun, why don't you give us a like? Share the episode. Tell your friends about us. Hit the notification button. It all helps to help us grow, and we appreciate it. Thanks.